I am also a running coach and an express offer certified agent. I am a mom of one, a wife and a fur mama to two fabulous doodles. And in the last 10 years, my husband and I have moved 3 times to 3 major states and 3 major cities within those states. We've gone from the East Coast to the West Coast and to the South. And we certainly know a thing or two about buying and selling homes personally and professionally, but we also certainly understand what's involved in relocating and that process. And we also can appreciate what it takes to become a part of a new community and become one with the locals. As I mentioned, a teacher by trade, and so with that, I think that makes me a very unique realtor. I take pride in teaching my clients every step of the way, whatever it may be that they need to understand or learn about the buying, the selling, the lending process, whatever it may be. And so that is the reason we are here today and learning together, and why we offer these real estate success calls once a month. Today, we will cover the realities of our market. We will also discuss that seller's roadmap and go into detail with that on some of the important steps along the way. We will also talk about how to prepare your home and what has the best return on investment. We're going to look at this in the lines of buying and selling today, and I don't want you to leave any of these ideas on the table the next time you go to make a move yourself. So I definitely want us to spend some time on that idea, best return on investment, and feel free to submit any questions in the chat. We will definitely talk about next steps. And if we're not able to answer all of those questions, I do have everyone's email, and I will certainly send out that Q&A list after our session today. All right, so let's talk about a few ideas related to why sell now. Why sell now? Right here I have the average national mortgage rate. You will know that in general, we are seeing all-time historic lows. No matter where you are in the US, they are definitely low. And so that is encouraging buyers to get into the market. It's also encouraging sellers to sell their home and take opportunity to move, essentially upgrade your home, if you will. If maybe you've been living in a starter home for the last 3 years, maybe you've been living in a condo or a townhome, and the way that the interest rates are right now, now's the time, and it's really driving people to think twice about where they are in their space and how they can utilize those historic mortgage rates and move into a different or a larger investment. We'll talk a little bit about that again on the next slide, and how those interest rates are specifically affecting the Texas market here today. We also talk about the idea of owning your own home essentially offers you an opportunity for a long-term investment. And maybe at this point in time, that long-term investment grew. Maybe you have enough equity built up. You've paid down your mortgage, and your value, or the appreciation value, market value of your home is higher. You automatically have an opportunity to have a debt pay down payment for a new home, a new investment. We'll talk a little bit about that today. We'll also talk about the fact that it is a strong seller's market. The buying demand is super high. The inventory is extremely low. So when those two things happen, the sellers become the ones in the driver's seat. They get to determine how quickly to sell their home. They get to determine what offers to take, how many offers should be accepted. It allows for the opportunity for the home to sell quickly. It allows for the opportunity for you to receive multiple offers, and it allows for you to receive an above asking price on your home. These are all great things to help lend you to the next phase of buying. All right, the realities of our market. And this is just in general here for Texas. We're talking about North Texas. The next few slides will touch a few takeaways here for our counties specifically here in North Texas. But the realities of the market, the average home price right now, we're seeing homes sell for $330,000. We are also seeing mortgage interest rates as low as 2.92%. I've seen some interest rates lower and I've seen some interest rates higher, but this is the average. And we do slightly see this as a 50-50 opportunity. And here's why. It definitely is a strong seller's market because the inventory is low. But I will say that our buyers are getting creative. Our buyers are getting crafty. They are thinking outside of the box. They are not just shopping for single family homes. They are looking at condos. They are looking at townhomes. They are looking at new construction. They are looking at working one-on-one with contractors, buying their own land, and being willing to be patient to build on their own land. So we do see a shift here, and we have to be mindful that buyers are going to get crafty. They already are. And so if we want to take advantage of this strong seller's market, we can't be afraid to list and sell our homes. We're also well aware that Texas is booming. We are seeing an abundance of relocation happening over the last few years. The last several years, we've seen several corporations come in, which have bolstered the economy and has also increased the shift of relocation. But in the last 10 years alone, the state has seen a 71% increase of growth of people moving to the market in the last 10 years. That's huge. And without a doubt, you have opportunity to be selling your home to those individuals that are making their way to this area. All right, specifically, we'll talk about Collin County, we'll talk about Dallas County, and also Denton County. If anyone wants any more information, if you're on the call today and you're not specifically living in either of these three counties, I have access to an abundance. My goal here was just to focus on our top 3 counties in North Texas, but always available to have a market review. Just reach out to me after this call today, and we can certainly highlight what's happening specifically in your county and in your local market. What we are seeing trend, you'll see across the board for these next 3 slides. Definitely our days on the market are low. We are seeing on average homes are being listed and homes are sitting on the market literally in that window of 30 to 45 days. Folks, it takes 30 to 45 days on average to close your home unless you have a cash buyer. That's another conversation. But if you have a cash buyer, that certainly can make the process move along faster, but the average day to close is 30 to 45. And so if a home is only sitting on the market for 38 days, folks, they are only sitting on the market for the time it takes to list and close. That means they are moving extremely fast. We are also seeing that the price per square foot is going up. That's because of that market shift and that market demand. So we are definitely seeing the value of our homes increase. The average sale price, not listing price, but the average sale price is up over last year. And we are seeing here specifically in Collin County that that average sale price is at about $400,000 and above. We would repeat the same thing here in Dallas County. We're definitely seeing that same shift. They are certainly hovering in the average price range of $400K and above for a close of sale. And although we are a little bit longer on the market here at 42 days, I think that has something to do slightly with condo and townhome sales. versus single family homes, because single family homes really is where people are wanting to go. And so if we're having to look at condos or townhomes as that secondary outlet, then potentially they could be sitting on the market a little bit longer. But quite honestly, remember I said that window is 30 to 45. And so we are definitely sitting on the market far less than that average closing date even. When we take a look finally at Denton County, you'll see that same trend. That average price point to close is $400,000 and above. That price per square foot is up, and the days on the market are definitely within that appropriate range of closing 30 to 45 days. You will see here inventory is definitely low. You see that the new listings available in Denton County are down, as well as our active listings are down in this particular county. I think that has to do with the fact that we have an abundance of suburbs and rural areas here, and that's where people are looking to move to. They're looking to leave Dallas County, right, who had the higher number of listings and the higher number of active listings, because folks are looking to sell and leave the city and move to these more, as we looked here in Collin County and also in Denton County, looking to move to those suburbs and those rural areas. They're not really looking to sell and move to the city. So I think that's why we see a slight difference there. Again, all of this data, though, just reinforces that it is a strong seller's market and you are in the driver's seat. All right, we'll talk today about the seller's roadmap. This essentially is our guideline in which we will go into more detail. We're going to talk about meeting with your real estate agent and choosing the right professional for you. You want to make sure that that professional is going to help you achieve your goals, because in the seller's roadmap, it's different than the buyer's roadmap. The buyer is just simply buying a home. Typically with the seller's roadmap, you are not only selling your home, but you need to work with that agent yet again to help you buy your home. So it's very important that when you're working and you're interviewing with those real estate professionals, that you make sure that they are going to be the best professional to work with, not only to sell, but to also buy your new home. And if you're moving out of state, making sure that that professional has the right connections to get you involved with a professional out of state, making sure they have the right and the strong network to provide you with assistance elsewhere. We'll talk about the market, specifically related to how we discern your market, your home value, and how that helps us to determine that strategic listing price. We'll talk about preparing your home. We will talk about getting it ready to truly list and get it for sale. Those are two different things, preparing and listing for sale. We'll also talk about offers and negotiations and that process. We'll talk about what happens when you're under contract, and then we will talk about some of those final details on the seller side, and we'll also highlight slightly what's going on with the buyer so you understand what's happening in between that kind of quiet time leading to the actual closing date. So again, some of those big call outs will be focusing on strategic pricing, talking about showings, choosing an offer that's the best offer for you, talking about the ideas of inspection and what that means, and then the ideas of going to close. All right, this is just where I take just a few seconds for you to kind of think about what we've been discussing already, and remind you just to take advantage of using my website as your home base. It is a guide that offers real-time information about your market, about the homes, about transactions. You have the ability to kind of have knowledge is power by utilizing my website. So I definitely encourage you to do that. You have the ability to search via layers of options. You can search by location. You can search by your needs, your wants. You can do your own comparative market analysis through those searches. You also have the ability to drill down into neighborhoods and get very hyper-local based upon where you are, and see what's happening specifically in your neighborhood or a neighborhood that you would be looking to move to. And we also have collections on our page that just helps with seamless collaboration. When we move forward from the selling phase and into the buying phase for you, we can utilize our website to make a great collaboration to meet your needs and identify where it is that you'd like to move forward. Okay, so the first idea is around step one, hiring your agent. You came today to get some of your questions answered, and so what we're going to focus today is upon that. And I think it's extremely important when we talk about finding the right agent for you that we make sure that that agent is, like I said, not only going to work with you personality-wise, but more importantly, going to be able to hear what your goals and your needs are and help you to successfully achieve them. You are making a huge investment, whether you are selling and buying, or whether you are selling alone, or whether you are a first-time buyer. And it's extremely important that that agent be prepared and have the ability to confidently guide you through the entire process and make you feel comfortable about what you're doing. You wouldn't go to see a brain surgeon to have your leg repaired. You would be going to an orthopedic surgeon to have your leg repaired. So it's the same thing. Make sure that you are hiring an agent that's going to meet the goals and the needs that you have, and that they will be the most successful partner. So it is my job as not only your buying agent, right, because you are selling your home and you are also going to buy. It is also my job as your selling agent to educate you about the market, analyze your wants and needs. What do you want and what do you need by selling your home? What are the goals that you have that you want to achieve by selling? And then also, what are your goals and your needs for when you want to invest in the next home in the buying phase? It's also my goal to steer you and drive you into that next phase of buying into the homes that fit your criteria. And that will all be based upon the sale of your home. If we achieve the goals that you want out of the equity and the investment in what you have in your home already, that will help to set you up for success for the next home that you're looking to buy. And so it's my job to help you get there by way of sale and then also by way of buy. It's my job to coordinate the work of all of the other professionals. We'll talk about that. We're going to be working with home inspectors. We're going to be working with contractors who might need to make repairs on the home, contractors that you might have in place to make bigger investments to be able to get a greater worth or value out of your home. And so it's my job to help work with you to coordinate those professionals and offer suggestions. It's also my job to negotiate on your behalf and to solve any problems that may arise. So I want you to look at me as not only your seller's agent to sell your home, but I also want you to look at me as your buyer agent and what we need to do together to successfully help you sell and then turn around to purchase your next home. All right, so we will have a seller's representation agreement. And what that means is just simply that it's the first step in hiring your agent. You agree and I agree to commit and or loyalty agreement between the two of us that we will essentially work together and find you the best solutions and best ways to achieve your goal. It sets a mutual expectation in writing. It also commits me to selling your home for you, and it confirms the exclusivity relationship that we have between each other, that I am here to support and guide and commit to selling your home, and you are committing and or agreeing to allow me to do that on your behalf. All right, our next step is essentially what everybody wants to know is, what is the value of my home, and or what will I sell my home for, and what will I get in return? So we will do essentially what's called a comparative market analysis. You will often hear this as a CMA. And there are components to this that are alike and components that are different. A CMA is essentially looking at that market value. And with that said, it's very important that you understand that this is an opinion. It's an opinion of what a property would sell at based upon what the other alike homes in your market, in your neighborhood, what they are doing. Okay, it's based upon the features and benefits of the property, and it is based upon the overall real estate market, supply and demand. We've talked about that, right? So there's a couple of things that we're going to look at. We're going to look at, yes, what is the square footage of the home? What are some of the features and benefits? 4 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms. Do you have a pool? Do you have garages? Do you have a larger oversized lot? Do you live near premium schools? You know, what are some of those features and benefits that will drive people to your community? And then we're also going to take a look at that overall supply and demand. Right now, it feels like it doesn't matter what your home is. People just want a home, and so they're going to pay that top dollar to get one, right? So that's why it is labeled as an opinion, because we're shaping this data based upon what we are seeing happening in your space. And this is typically the price that the home is listed for. It is not necessarily what the home will truly, in fact, sell for or close at. This is just typically what it is listed at, and then negotiations move from there. Appraisal value is extremely different, yet extremely similar. An appraisal value is not an opinion. It is actually not even done by a realtor. It is done by an appraisal professional, someone who is certified in home appraisals, and they make an evaluation on a property's worth at a given point in time, and they are looking at it in a deeper light. The appraisal value, it is a crucial factor in the loan underwriting process for the buyer, and it helps to determine essentially how much money they need to borrow. So it's very important that when we list the home and we choose what to price the home at, that we are considering both of these ideas, the market value and the appraisal value, so that way we are setting you up for success to list, accept the offer, go under contract, and close. You don't want to be overpricing your home to a point in which you've outbid or outpriced yourself to be able to A, receive offers, and B, for lenders to be willing to loan a buyer an appropriate amount for your home. So that's why the two of them need to be working cohesively together. All right, and so how do we then further determine how to sell your home? We don't want to be greedy, right? And we don't want to also get ourselves into a pickle to where you're selling and basically giving the home away for free. So we use those ideas of the market and the appraisal value, and we roll those figures into what's considered to be a net sheet. That net sheet then will help us to determine what to set the price at, and then ultimately it helps us to determine what offer is a good offer for you, right? So to review a net sheet and then to use that as a guide to set your price, I think is extremely important. And I think that at this point, you are working closely with your agent. You'll want to make sure that you ask for that net sheet. That net sheet is essentially that financial guide that helps you to determine your existing loan payoff amount. Then you will take essentially that pie in the sky listing price and any fees and commissions that are going to be accrued in the process of selling and closing your home. We utilize that data in the form of a mathematical equation. You'll see on the next page, it's not that too intense, but we take that data and that then helps us to determine essentially what your take home will be. What will you actually keep in your hand at the time of close on your home? And this can be an excellent guide to help you to determine what's the lowest offer you're willing to accept and or what's the highest offer that you're going to accept. And I see it's not about necessarily what's the highest offer. I see what's the lowest, what's the secure offer that you're willing to take, and more importantly, what's the best price you want to price the home at so that you, on the spot, nail on the head, get multiple offers in your winning space, in your win lane. All right, and so how we essentially create that net sheet, and like I said, what is that essentially, that mathematical equation? You will essentially identify the balance of your loan. So what do you have left to pay on your mortgage? If it's $100,000, we're going to use that as a quantification for essentially $100,000 is what the balance on your loan. We will then determine the amount you can comfortably sell your house at. Let's say your house can be listed at $300,000, then we will take that number into an account, and then we will determine any fees that need to go to the title company, that need to go to lender, closing, whatever it may be, commissions, the various fees that will come by way of closing and transacting this business. We will take that and we will essentially then do some subtraction, and that will allow you to know what you will essentially take home. We will start obviously with the highest price, and that higher price will be what you list your home for sale, right? So we would be doing that $300,000 minus the balance on your loan, which was $100,000, right? So right there, we know right away that the take home could potentially be $200,000. We also know then that we need to keep in mind any commissions and fees. And let's say that number is $50,000. That may be way overshooting, but you get the picture here. We then take $200,000 and we subtract that $50,000 from it, and essentially your take home for the sale of your home could potentially be $150,000. That is amazing. And so that is the value of the net sheet. The value of the net sheet allows you to see what your take home is going to be, and it helps guide you to where you can comfortably be set at your lowest end of your offer, and then at that appropriate price range that you should have the home listed at. All right, so now we'll talk a little bit about the fun part, getting your home ready. And sometimes this is the most challenging part. So again, it's why it's super important to make sure that the agent that you're with is going to guide you the whole way, make the appropriate suggestions, and be there to support you to have a successful sale of your home. All right, and just a few ideas. I certainly think this is appropriate to go in depth when you're actually working one-on-one with your agent, but just some of the call outs that we all generally talk about when you're thinking about preparing your home to sale. Ask yourself, when you're looking at the outside of the home, does the condition of my home look good? If you have an older home, it's 10 years old, begin asking yourself the question, how is the integrity of my roof? Should I have someone come out and preemptively look at the roof to make sure that it's in good health? Should I have someone take a look at the windows, make sure that they are in good health? Are my garage doors working? How do those look? How does the lawn look? How does the flower bed look? Depending on when you're going to sell your home, sometimes we can't have beautiful lush flowers if it's the middle of the winter, and we certainly can't have beautiful green grass if it's the middle of the winter. But we can make it look clean and trim, and we definitely have unique ways to make that exterior pop and make you look like you're standing out from the curbside appeal is what we call it. Make sure that your backyard looks as nice as your front yard. That includes any furniture that you might have in the back, your pool, etc. And when we're talking about the interior, it's important to not necessarily sweat the small stuff, but definitely make sure that the HVAC systems and your special amenities are functioning and in appropriate stature. So take a look at the kitchen, make sure that the kitchen is updated, make sure that it looks clean, make sure that it's prepared, check your walls, make sure that you don't need to do any touch-ups. I always think that touching up walls anyways is great. The idea of a fresh paint smell or a new home smell sends the potential buyer the idea that you are detailed and you take pride in home ownership. And so I think that is always a plus. Take a look at the ceilings, make sure there's no cobwebs way up high, help you look at the lighting, take a look at the carpets, be prepared, have them maybe cleaned if they need to be show ready. Make sure that's cleaning by shampooing, and that's also vacuuming. Make sure that every little detail is touched. And if the carpet is well worn, be prepared to negotiate that in your offers. If your hardwood floors need some touching up, make sure you clean them at best, and then also be willing that if they are out of date and or may need repairs, be preemptively prepared to have those negotiations in your offers. Again, check those doors, check those windows, check your fireplaces, make sure your fireplaces are clean and functioning. Make sure your attics are clear. Make sure your garages are clear. There are a lot of folks, especially here in Texas, because we don't have basements, that utilize their garages in very unique ways, and we want them to see the breadth of that space. So make sure that they can see that and visualize how they could use those spaces for either storage, exercise rooms, cars, whatever it may be. Maximize that space. Then we have the big question of should we repair or remodel during the preparation phase of getting our home ready? And I love to say, what is the return on your investment? Are you repairing because you don't want to concede on the price of the home? You don't want to have your offer be disruptive based upon the fact that maybe you have an older hot water heater? Are you looking to remodel a space just because you think that it's going to be a good thing to have a For example, a pool in your backyard? Well, not necessarily, because you have to remember specifically here in Texas, every community typically has a community pool. And just because we put a pool in our backyard does not mean that that $100,000 pool instantaneously now means that we can add $100,000 to the purchase price or the listing price of our home. So again, I just say tread that line. What needs to be repaired to keep the home functioning and in good health versus what could just be a luxury item to entice someone to come along and buy your home. And in this market, folks, you don't need those shiny objects. People are ready to buy your home as long as it's functioning in good health and good standing without initial immediate repairs or investments to the buyer. We're looking to take care of issues, and we're looking to take care of things that have a true return on your investment. All right, and here are some of those ideas. I mentioned already the idea of a new roof. I can tell you that that can make or break sometimes an offer, and that can make or break the sale of a home. So when we're talking about preparing our home in those initial days to sell, we're talking about looking at the ideas of a new roof. The return on that investment is, as you can see, 107%. We also can see that new hardwood flooring has a great return on investment. Some people don't like carpet in the house. Some people want to see that those hardwood floors look brand new. If you have pets, if you wear shoes in your homes, there's wear and tear on those hardwood floors. And so just the ideas of having those refinished, touched up and cleaned can be a strategic bonus for you. HVAC replacement, we're talking about your heating and cooling. We're talking about your water heaters. Those are huge. Those are expenses that people don't want to be worried about. Folks, in the very first home that my husband and I bought out west, we bought our home in May, we closed, and in July, over the July 4th holiday, we were replacing our hot water heater. Do you know how hard that is to get somebody to repair your hot water heater over the 4th of July? If we would have known a little bit more about the age of that investment, we might have done a little more negotiating and had that taken care of for us prior to purchasing the home. But that to be said, that's one of those returns on investment that if you can say, hey, I have a new hot water heater, it can justify the fact that you've listed your home for XYZ. So insulation upgrade. Here in Texas, you know that it gets extremely hot. So making sure if your home, again, is older, do you have the best air conditioning systems? Do you have the best insulation systems to help with that process? We also talk about the ideas of new fiber cement siding. So taking a look at the structures of your home. That may not always be applicable here in Texas because a lot of the work that we do is brickwork. But for some in other locations, it's important to know if you're moving out of state, why the seller there may have their home priced at what it is. Maybe they made that investment in siding. And the idea of updating your windows and doors. We talked about that, and you can see there that there is a return on your investment for that too. So I digress. Certainly open conversation when working with your agent to discuss the age of the home and the age of its amenities, and then to determine from there which hardwares should be replaced, repaired, or remodeled. And this is very different than getting your home show ready. Our previous step, step 3, as far as preparing your home, that may be something that you're doing for a couple of months. That may be something that you're saying, you know, hey, I want to In the wintertime, you're saying, hey, I want to list my house for sale in the spring. I'm going to have my agent come over, walk through and talk about some things, and we're going to discuss over the next few months between winter and spring how to get my home prepared. That is far different than actually getting your home show ready. The show ready part happens after you've listed the home. The preparation of repairs and additional investments can be happening months in advance, year in advance. Those are those projects that you're doing, that you're thinking in the back of your mind, when I get ready to sell my home someday, owning this or having that may help increase its value. Getting yourself list ready and show ready happens during this process. And again, we're still going to review those same ideas though. It is super important that once you get that home prepared, structurally it is sound. We definitely don't want to forget that it is important while it's being listed that the landscaping looks good, flower beds look good. We want to make sure that things are picked up. If you're a home that has children, that toys are put away outside, so people can really see the landscape and get a breath and start creating in their mind's eye what they want this home to look like. If you don't have a pool in your backyard, fabulous. Maybe there's a potential buyer who's looking for that. And maybe they want to be able to step out on your patio and envision themselves, oh, I can put my grill here, and I can put my patio table here, I can put my glider over there, I've got a swing set and this. I mean, we want to make sure that that backyard is clear and focused so they can envision themselves being in that creative space. The same thing applies in the home. Declutter the home. Take off your pictures off the wall. Take any posters off the wall. Clear any of your desk areas. Clear your kitchen counters. Clear your bathroom counters. If we show the buyer that we are clean and that we are organized, we show the buyer that we take pride in owning our home, and therefore they are going to be getting a great investment opportunity because we've taken care of our home. We also give them the opportunity to tap into all of their senses. We've had a session on that too, using the mind's eye to be able to envision where they want to be and how they want to live in your home, and let their creative juices flow. And again, don't forget, we're not necessarily sweating the small stuff here, but we do want to make sure things are in order, laundry's put away, carpets are vacuumed, floors are swept, dog dishes are put up, whatever it may be. We want to keep those distractors out of the mix when we're getting the house to be show ready. All right, and then we can talk about the process of receiving an offer and if we need to negotiate that offer. You've hired your agent because your agent specializes in understanding offers, preparing offers, and negotiating to maximize your potential to reach your goal of that net sheet, remember? So what happens when we receive the offer? Well, first of all, an offer must reflect the true market value of the home. So like we said, we need to be very strategic. Someone cannot come in necessarily and lowball your price per se. They have to have a reason for why they believe that that house may be overpriced, if you will. So we need to make sure that the offer reflects that. We also need to make sure that the offer isn't so exorbitantly high that whomever is coming in, if they are not a cash buyer, that they won't be able to get a loan for the home. So keep that in mind too. We also need to talk about the terms. There are 6 basic categories that are identified in the terms, and we need to be able to address those, address the timing, and address the financial considerations of that offer. We'll talk about that. And then we also need to be aware that there could be some contingencies. This is often referred to as the conditions that allow the buyer to opt out of the deal related to something, I don't know, maybe if they're concerned about the roof, they do have an opportunity to say to you, if you don't fix the roof, we will no longer stay in the deal or stay under contract. So contingencies, they can vary. They could even simply just be for yourself. You might have a contingency that you need to be able to find a new home in order to sell your home. So varying things in that offer, but it's definitely our job as the agent to explain all of those things to you and talk you back about how that affects the offer and how that affects the timeline and the financial considerations related to that offer. All right, so let's talk about that next step, inspection and repairs. And the first thing that I just want to say out the gate, there is no such thing as a perfect home. And I'm hoping that the agent that is essentially representing the buyer that is potentially looking at your home is educating them on the same thing, that there will be some repairs that are definitely needed. They could be things from a leaky faucet to more costly issues, like we identified the idea of a roof repair or a roof update. And you will be able to identify those either in advance if you want to have an inspection done, as we are talking about that preparation phase. You certainly could have an inspection on a home done by a professional inspector, so that way you can get out in front of some of those repairs. And you can also provide that at the balance when listing the home. That could be a good, safe, strategic play. But ultimately, the buyer is still going to want to do an inspection on the home to determine what are those big issues, what are those minor issues, and then from there, essentially negotiate some of those repairs that may be needed that are more costly into the contract or into the purchase or the sale of the home. And so at that point in time, hopefully that buyer's agent is suggesting a professional inspector for their buyer clients to then come in and inspect your home. They will then determine what are some of those repairs and what are some of those minor things that they just need to be aware of long term to kind of take a look at. But that's essentially what goes into that phase. And in that phase, we typically see what's called an option period. And an option period is essentially a window. It's typically 7 to 10 days after the offer is received. And it allows that inspection to take place, and it allows then that buyer client to work back with you to determine essentially, okay, here's what the inspector has identified or deemed that needs to be taken care of. Are you willing to work with us to get those items repaired? Are you willing to adjust the sale price? What is the negotiation process for what's been found on behalf of that inspection? And again, that's why it's extremely important that your agent be well versed in negotiations and well versed in the returns on investments of repairs and of remodeling, so that way they can help justify and win that argument or that negotiation of that next offer. And I love to just remind everyone, buyer and or seller, when preparing your home and or when looking at the home, it's the big stuff that really matters here, folks. Cracks or crumbling in the foundation should definitely be addressed prior to listing the home, and or be prepared that those will be the things that the inspectors are going to find, and those are the things that you're going to be responsible to repair, and that you should not ignore that as a condition in in that period of time, because those are major things, and someone does not want to take those on unfairly. So cracks are crumbling in the foundations, cracks inside of the house, or over windows, making sure that there are no water stains on the ceilings or floors or walls. That sometimes implies that you've had water damage. So we want to be transparent about those if that has occurred. Faded or worn shingles, that will identify whether or not a roof needs to be repaired. Plumbing or electrical problems, mold or termite issues. Specifically here in Texas, there is an opportunity to have termite issues, and so we don't want to avoid taking a look at those and keeping those open-minded about those conditions and considerations when selling the home, and if on the flip, if we were buying the home. All right, so after the inspection process and the negotiation period with that option period is completed, you are well on your way then to closing and to being a successful first-time seller. And so I say congratulations. And what are some of those things just to keep in mind after that inspection process? Essentially, the buyer is, finalizing their approval process and obtaining their loan, and getting themselves financially prepared to close. So what does essentially the seller need to be doing? Well, I think in that period of time, you are actively doing some of those repairs. If repairs were negotiated, you are actively hiring professionals to do some of those repairs for you on your behalf. You're making sure that the house is sound and continues to stay sound from that time of inspection and negotiation to the time of close. So ultimately, that is your biggest priority, is making sure that the house is ready truly to take over new ownership. I also think that you need to keep yourself mortgage worthy, being good sound, keep paying those payments, because we don't want to have any defaults that could abruptly affect you in selling the home. I also think you keep yourself mortgage worthy for the next purchase of the home that you're going into. So keep those things in mind. And I think you keep a budget, a good close idea of a budget for additional expenses. As we talked about, what are your closing costs going to be? Earnest money won't necessarily be something that you will be affected by to sell your home, but you may need to have that earnest money to make the purchase of your next home. So it certainly is important that you keep that in mind as you're watching your expenses. And I think also keep in mind that although you're not going to be responsible for the option period, you're not going to have to pay. That is something that the buyer is going to pay you in order to have that opportunity to watch you make those repairs or negotiate those repairs. But depending on where you're going, if you're going to be buying another home too, you may want to keep that in mind. And how much of the proceeds from the sale of your home do you want to hold on to for such similar expenses on the return of the buying side? Inspections, again, if you choose to do an inspection prior to listing the home, as we talked about in that preparing the home phase, just keep that in mind. That could be essentially owed to you out of pocket $300 or $600 if you choose to do that in advance. If you choose to do a survey on the home, sometimes people like to do updated surveys to be able to, again, justify that price per square foot. Just keep in mind that that could be an upfront investment prior to listing, but that is, again, more an expense for the buyer, or more of an expense that could return to you on the flip side. And then just keep an idea of any of those miscellaneous fees. Golly, one time my husband and I sold our home and we forgot to leave the garage remote. So we had to pay to have the garage remote and the keys to the home FedExed overnight as we were en route to our new state. So again, just the small things. It's never a bad thing to just kind of keep a budget together and make sure that you have allocated funds for any of those things. You'll want to make note that although this applies to the buyer, the 1 year of homeowners insurance, you may be getting refunds from your home insurance plan. And I would advise you to certainly just hang on to those refunds and turn them right over to reallocate for the next home that you'll be moving into. And then I also think it's important for you to think right out the gate, what are some of the monetaries that you want to reserve from this take home for improvements or repairs for your next home? We know we're not going to necessarily buy a picture perfect. Even if it's new construction, you might buy a new construction home and right out the gate want to be able to take some of the proceeds from the sale of your home to put a pool in your backyard or to make your patio a little bit more pristine. So be mindful of that as you're thinking about that net sheet, that return. How are you going to reallocate those funds even to the next phase? And then essentially there is the final walkthrough. The buyer does have the right to come take a look at the home prior to the day of close, just to make sure that the house is in fact in the state in which you've negotiated for it to be. So if you have agreed that you're going to fix the carpet, you're going to fix the wood floor, you're going to touch up something on the ceiling, you're going to adjust the air conditioning units, whatever it may be, that is the time that the new buyer will have an opportunity to do a final walkthrough and make sure that all of those repairs and or items were negotiated in that bill of sale. And then that essentially brings us to the closing process, and what the buyer will essentially be bringing to close is essentially their certified funds. They will be bringing evidence of their insurance, and they will be bringing a valid ID. I think out of those three things, what's important for you to bring to the table is definitely a valid ID. Make sure that in advance that the buyer side knows where to deposit or wire those certified funds. So that is just as important for you to be a part of that bullet as well. And some of the things that essentially you will get at that time of close, you will get a settlement statement. You will also get a transaction receipt that identifies how that wiring or that transferring of funds will go. And then you will also receive typically a couple of weeks later, a week to 2 weeks later, you should receive a notification from your lender stating that essentially that bill of sale was paid for and that your mortgage for the home has been settled and clean. You will transfer your title to the buyer, at which you will also receive a statement stating that that title has been transferred, that deed is now owned to them. And it is extremely important that you remember to bring the keys to your home. Bring keys, bring remotes, anything that the buyer is going to need, be sure to bring that so that way you can transfer that over to them. And they can have that true home ownership. Like I said, don't be like Brian and I, where you are rushing to the local FedEx out of state to mail those items, or leaving one person at the closing table and driving all the way back to get those items. So either bring them with you, or a safe place to put any keys and or garage remotes is always on a kitchen counter in the home, wherever it may be in plain sight, for those buyers to be welcomed with those items. And then essentially here, just the mindset and the reminder is protecting your investment. I think this is always important to remember. Again, from the seller's view, just remind yourself, when you're buying that house or when you're selling that house, remember, it is your duty to protect your investment. It is your duty to maintain, to perform routine maintenance on your home systems, depending upon their age, right? We've talked about those repairs. We've talked about those remodeling. Keep an eye on things that happen in the home, leaks, damages, wear and tear, whatever it may be. Keep all of your receipts and consider your home warranties. Folks, this is extremely important, because when you go to sell the home, if you have any of this data, you are armed with a justification for why your home is on the market for the way that it is. The more proof you can provide the buyer, the stronger a compelling offer can be justified by what you list your home. You can prove to them that because you did routine maintenance, because you had your water heaters addressed annually, they were cleaned, because you had your pool maintained, because you repaired your faucets, or you had any preventative measures on your faucets, because you upgraded your HVAC system, you cleaned your HVAC system, whatever it may be. These are all justifications to prove to that next buyer that you were the best home owner at that time, to justify why you're asking for the return on your investment that you are. So I think this is twofold. I think you need to keep this by way of understanding of taking pride as a buyer, what to keep in mind. But most importantly, I think you need to keep this in mind as a seller. This is what the buyer is looking for. They want to know that you loved the home and you cared for the home as much as they want to love and care for the home as well. All right, and so I leave this here for any questions or answers or aha moments. I see there are things in the chat, and in the interest of our time, I know we are slightly over an hour here, so I am going to take the opportunity to answer those questions and send them back over to you for latter review. The biggest thing that I just want to welcome you is any questions that you may have, even beyond this moment. Please, I am just a phone call, just an email, and just a website away. It is my promise to you that I will get back in touch with you within 24 hours. I am typically faster than that, but please note that at sometimes our team is running multiple clients at a time, and so we certainly pride ourselves in prioritizing and returning those communications to you appropriately. But it is my commitment to you as a real estate agent, and from my background and experience as an educator, it is my job to educate you about the market. It is my job to educate you about what is happening with your home. It is my job to analyze your wants and needs and help guide you through the sale and the buy of your next home. It is definitely my job to steer you into homes that will fit your need when you're looking on that other side. And it is also my job to steer you into the homes that fit the criteria as we are considering what the market is doing. We are not going to compare a 4-bedroom home to a 3-bedroom home and use that as a market analysis. So again, my job to steer you in the direction of understanding that. It's my job to coordinate the work of other professionals and to definitely negotiate on your behalf and solve any problems that may arise throughout the entire process. And I extend this to you to say, I am your real estate agent. It is my job to transform your life through the ideas of real estate. And I am here to help guide you even after you close your home. It is my job that if you have any questions about how to get in touch with someone to install a new patio in your backyard, give me a call. I have a list of those professionals. That's what I'm here for. It's my job that if you're struggling with anything, challenged by something, have a question, learning how to do some functionals related to an ADT system, whatever it may be, touch base with me. That's what I'm here for. I am your realtor for life, and I am the realtor that is helping you to transform your life through real estate. And again, one last opportunity to take a look here at my contact information. If you would just scribble that down or take a screenshot of that. Certainly let's stay in touch after this communication. Be sure to look out for our monthly real estate success presentations. And also, again, one more reminder of my website, what you can find and how we can help you. And I look forward to the opportunity to work with you in the future. Thank you for attending today's call. And again, I will wrap up those questions and answers and get them over to you. Thank you so much. Take care.